Today, I'm joined by Marla Mervis-Hartmann, best-selling author, coach, Reiki Master, TEDx speaker, and founder of Love Your Body, Love Yourself. Through her work and her book, Befriend Yourself, Marla shares the power of self-compassion and body love as a path to freedom and confidence. She brings a wealth of experience from Reiki circles to women's wellness and a heartfelt mission to guide us all towards deeper self-acceptance. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me,
I don't
Nadine.
think we're going to be short of things to talk about
I
today.
don't think so.
I have watched your TEDx talk, which is on YouTube. It's amazing. Loved it. And obviously, your personal experience is really central to the work that you're doing now. So, would you be happy to sort of kick us off with a little bit about that, or a lot about that, if you like?
Yeah, sure. So I am here speaking to you all right now because of my tumultuous and very dysfunctional relationship with my body and my food. And unfortunately, I don't think that my story is very unique. It's not like, oh, wow, that happened to you. It's like, no, I believe that my story, which is one of using my body and food as a way to cope with my life, getting involved with dieting and trying to shrink my body, believing that my body was my worth, and doing all the crazy things, binging, purging, over exercising, orthorexic. I was so mean to myself. Like the level of negative, the ways that I would spew on myself, so mean. And I used it as a diet tactic, really. If I tell myself how ugly I am, then maybe I won't eat that thing. Right.
Mm.
And so after one dark night of the soul after another, it was when I realized, and let me say, my dark nights of the soul was one was overeating so much and feeling like this will be my life forever. And if you're someone who struggles with food and binging, you know what I'm talking about. Those moments where your belly is full and you're disgusted, and that feeling of so alone and the shame and the upset. And then the other major dark night of the soul was when I lost all my weight. I was the thinnest I'd ever been, and I should have been happy, and I was miserable. So those extremes told me that I was missing the mark completely. And the mark was not about food and body. And so my journey was to unhinge myself, unlearn a lot of my behaviors, the way that I coped, call in what I call God, spirit, the divine to support me to and find ways to cope with life and stress and trauma and old patterns and behaviors. And so it's been a long ride, but at one point I realized, oh, I'm like good. I think I'm good. And it was in that moment after there weren't me's back then, right? There weren't a lot of Marlas or people who were doing coaching around binge eating or freedom with food. No one was really talking about body image other than to say that we needed to lose weight. That was the body image. Uh, so I had to piecemeal a lot of this together, which is great for my clients because now I know what has worked for me and has continued to work over and over again for the people that I help.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, quite an amazing story. I'd love to know. I'm kind of because I work in the as a personal trainer and I have for 20 years. Obviously, this whole idea of losing weight is tangled up in so many different ways. Body image, losing weight, wanting to, wanting to look better. And it's like, what's bad versus what's okay? And do you kind of, are you able to differentiate between when it's like a positive motivation for someone to want to lose weight? Because let's face it, some people are living a life where they're unhealthy, and they do, my dad, for example, he's been told by his doctor that he needs to lose weight because he's got a heart condition, right?
Mhm.
So how do we differentiate between those people who have a negative self-image um, that's associated with um, a negative relationship with themselves, versus someone who wants to lose weight because they need to for their health? Well, it's very blurry, isn't it?
It is so blurry. And it honestly depends on the story, the
Mm,
person, and the season of their life. And if they have a past of going back and forth from dieting to now I need to lose weight,
mm,
dieting, like that swinging. And so what happens is we go into dieting and we can't sustain it. So then we go over here and we gain a bunch of weight. And then we say, see, I have to be on a diet in order to lose the weight. And it's substantial now because I've gotten overweight. And that is a cycle that never ends. And so there has to be another road. And that's where I take people, is that other road of, yes, I understand you don't like the body you're in right now. I get that. You don't like it. You need to lose weight. The issue with that, Nadine, is there's so much diet
mm,
culture, societal views, opinions from other people, even that, even approval and acknowledgement. Wow, you lost a lot of weight. You look great. That can feel like a sting when we've gained some weight back,
mm,
which lots of times people do. So commenting on other people's bodies and their weight, I have not found it to be helpful at all, in any case. And so it's looking at what is, and it takes such self honesty to look and say, what is my deeper intention here? And going towards the intention and letting the weight take care of it, take care of itself. So when people come to me, usually it's because their head is crazy, but they still want to lose weight. And they say to me, well, are you going to tell me that I have to look this way forever? And I said, no, but we're not focusing on that, because has that helped you at all?
mm,
It has not. So we're going to work on the inner game. We're going to work to fine tune your intention. We're going to look at, when are you eating because you're emotionally eating and not wanting to deal. So when we take care of that, a lot of the weight stuff can take care of itself. And when we are hooked on certain foods because of a craving, and we look at, what does that craving mean? And what does this food mean to you? And so everything, if you're not getting, like, if you're listening and not getting, everything is under the hood here.
mm,
We're taking all the things that we would want to say, well, I just need to gain, I just need to lose weight. I just need to do this thing or this thing. I'm not saying that some of these protocols and some of the things that we're taught aren't aren't like, they're not all bad. There's certain seasons in our life that we need to be focused on, maybe healthy fat or no sugar. However, the intention behind that
mm.
matters more than anything.
Yeah. Before we hit record, I talked to you about, just briefly, about my sobriety. So about 3.5 years ago, just over 3.5 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol, and it was it was socially acceptable for me to be drinking the amount I was drinking. And I think the same happens with food, right? And again, there's that push pull, because it's socially acceptable to go out and eat lots, or we can enjoy ourselves. It's all about enjoying yourself, and if you're doing the things. Anyway, I digress. I'm kind of curious about, is I've written it here, is all addiction an expression of the same experience? So our experience with food, or a negative experience with food or dieting, compared to grey area drinking, where we drink, but it's not seen as a problem societally, but it is a problem.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly. Seen as a problem with society. So that is an
Mm.
external validation. And we're not looking for that. We are. That's the problem. We look outside of ourselves to say, am I safe? We look outside of ourselves. We go on Instagram and we look and say, they're eating that. They're eating that. I should eat that. Oh, that person said that. Oh, that person is that weight. I'm thinner than them, so I'm okay. Oh, and so we give our power, we give our intuition away, and we don't ask our own bodies. So if we ask our own bodies, is my life, am I at my optimal? Am I going to thrive drinking? Am I going to thrive having sugar every single night before I go to bed? Am I going to get a good night's sleep, which then makes me a better person, which then makes me have more awareness in my life and my better at my job? Like what do you want out of life? And how much of yourself, how much of you at your highest form do you want to be in? And so your choice to not drink alcohol, although socially acceptable and not put into, as a doctor from Western medicine would say, oh, you're fine.
Mm.
We know. We don't want to know. That's the issue, right? Like we don't want to know that we're not supposed to have whatever. And it's interesting, Nadine, because I think it can show up. It shows up in my life. It's not like it doesn't still show up. So I'll just share what I have found. I've never been someone that wakes up and has coffee. Like I never really did that. I just wake up and I do my day. Well, I got hooked on waking up and having this cacao drink that I make. It's cacao and it's rose powder, a little collagen and a little bit of, coconut milk. And but then I was having it every day. And then I was like, oh, and then now I'm going to make a matcha. And then the next day I'm going to have, decaf coffee or whatever, but I'm having this. And so this treat now became this expectation. And gosh, I can't even believe I'm saying this because I don't even want to admit it to myself, let alone to everyone else. So I'm feeling that I'm really being called to, yeah, it's not serving me. Is that normal? Does everyone wake up and have their thing? Does everyone wake up and go to Starbucks? A lot of people do. It's not working for me. So I haven't had anything for the last few days. I didn't have some. And so the gray area for me is, can I? You can, or can't you? Or are we just going to have to say no?
Mm.
And sometimes there's a no that has to happen in order to get ourselves in alignment to what we can be okay with.
Mm.
I was going to bed thinking about my cacao rose drink in the morning. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
That's exactly the same for me. I read a book once, I think it's Gretchen Rubin. It's about habits. And she says that you're either a moderator. I can't remember what the other one is, but I'm the other one where I can't moderate. So
got it.
like for
Okay.
me, like my husband can go out for dinner. He hasn't had a drink really for, he might not have had a drink since last year, and he can have one glass of wine.
Right.
I feel like if I had one glass of wine, or I don't want to know whether if I have one glass of wine, I'd want another one. And then I'd get back into that cycle again. So it sounds like a very similar thing. And, it would be easy for someone from the outside listening to this go, well, wine's different to cacao. But it's like the mental, is it the
Yeah,
mental,
well, it's addictive.
emotional
Cacao is
connection to
addictive
it?
too. Absolutely.
And
100.
when you're thinking about it, when you're not doing it, like you said, when you go to bed, for me with the alcohol, it was like I'd have a glass of wine in the evening, but then I'd wake up in the morning and I would say to myself, I'm not going to drink today. And so,
Mm,
like, basically, I've started thinking about drinking as soon as I've woken up. And that's a problem.
yeah. Yeah. And what else is like a healthier thought in the morning?
Mm.
Mm. What do I want to do with my life today? How do I want to serve today? How can I love today? How can I receive love other than my, my drink in the morning?
Yeah,
What else can I feel?
yeah. So it's very, very interesting territory, isn't
Such
it?
a juicy conversation.
Yeah. Let's talk about body image because um, this is your experience, right? You had a very, what would you say, negative, unfavorable perception of yourself and how you looked?
Yeah, it's so odd too, Nadine. I am not in a body that you would say, wow, I can understand why you don't like. Like, I've always been thin. I was born strong, healthy, thin. I am not, I'm in a physique a lot of people would say they would want. And I, what I have seen, and you can look out there in the world, is that it doesn't really matter what body size you're in. You can have negative body image. And I've seen even women who do, like me, they're even harder on themselves. They set themselves to a higher ideal. They're even stricter. And so negative body image doesn't discriminate on body, unfortunately, age either. You can see a lot of older women and men who are negative to themselves and to their bodies. And of course, we see it in younger kids, which is heartbreaking. And so I knew on an intellectual level that I would look and I'd be like, I'm okay. But even if I was okay, there was the fear that I was going to gain weight or it just wasn't enough. And I didn't want to let myself accept myself because if I accepted my body, that meant that I would probably overeat and then I would lose what I had. So there was no freedom. There was no, I'm okay. Because even if I dieted and got to a certain weight, then the fear would creep in.
Mm, yeah, I think this is a cultural issue as well, right? A societal issue.
Oh,
This happened to you really probably before a lot of social media, wouldn't you say? Like,
yeah, there wasn't
yeah,
even social media. I
right?
think about if I had social media, I would have been so screwed.
Oh my
Oh my,
God.
I can't even imagine.
So, like, I don't know where it comes from. Like, why do we have this negative experience of ourselves? I heard something that you said in one of the podcast interviews you've done previously, and it was about like when we look in the mirror in the morning, and I can guarantee that the first thing I do is tell myself how shit I look. Uh, right? Oh
Me.
God, you look terrible, right? And I'm in a changing body. I'm in perimenopause. So I can see physically things are changing. Like my skin's not too bad. Like, but like things are a little bit looser on my face, my tummy. Yeah, this like there's a lack of collagen production or reduced collagen production. My body's changing, and it's hard because I do totally judge myself, want to hide it, pull it in, you know.
It's tricky perimenopause.
Yeah,
It's like, what the heck is going on here? That is good. Like, and because it's completely out of our control.
totally. Yeah.
So there is a normal response, which is fear and judgment. And I think I mean, let's face it, how can we see things change? That's very idealistic to say we're going to be like, how is that amazing? I love the fact that like my belly is like it, like that is too idealistic, but we do have to rein that in. And what you noticed, like, oh, I'm doing that.
Mm,
No. And I think in many different parts of our life, and this being one of them, is that there is the body that we were in, and the body that we're in now, and the body we're going to be in. And it does take a level of introspection and even ceremony, even grief, the grieving. And you see that with pregnant women and, the bodies after birth. I'm not in the same body than after I gave birth to my 12-year-old son. It's a different body. It's a different life. And there's a grieving in that.
Mm.
I'm not a maiden anymore. I'm moving into my crone years, and it's getting ready for that. And that's a big one.
Mm.
I think it's a huge topic. And
Totally.
along with that are all the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause that also make us feel uncomfortable. And so adding more salt to the wound by then waking up and saying, that's gross, that's disgusting, is definitely not going to help. So what do we do with that if we're still feeling like we don't like it?
Mm.
And so I'm going to answer the question I asked myself, Nadine. I know that's your job, but I just did it. Is to one, have more compassion. Oh gosh, that's so uncomfortable. Oh, I do not like that. Oh, I feel so, like just, oh, like the compassion for self rather than like you're gross.
Mm.
It's like, wow, I feel so sad that I'm calling myself gross. I feel so upset that I'm losing this body. Oh gosh. And there's compassion in it rather than just being mean.
Mm.
And I think that we can look at that through the concept of we don't have to like our bodies, but we do need to love them. So we may not like what they look like. We may not like even how they perform sometimes if we're not feeling well or we have a chronic or acute illness. And although we may not like it and we may feel like we're hard on ourselves, we do want to show up with love. We want to show up as a friend. We want to show up with compassion and care and saying nice things and feeding ourselves appropriately. And I think that's a big piece of it.
Mm. Yeah. I want to just jump back a little bit because I don't know what your idea thoughts on this are, or your personal experience, but I do like, although I have those negative talks with myself, I try and pep myself up as well. I'm kind of aware of it, and there's got to be some gratitude for being in this body that I've had this life experience with so far. I've carried children, I move well, and I have a pretty good life. So like, there's a whole bunch of things to be very grateful for. But I wonder whether hormonal shifts, because I know our hormones change our perception, don't they? When we're in a monthly cycle, I certainly experienced that week before where I look different, even if no one else would notice. I'm like, what happened? And then in the ovulation phase, I'm like, I look amazing.
Totally. Yes, I completely resonate with you on this. I can remember maybe late 30s or even in my 40s where it clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this every month for my bleeding years where I'm disgusting. There's something wrong with me. I need to lose weight. And then I have my period. And then all of a sudden nothing's changed. I look amazing. But I think we can't even realize the craziness. And so here we are, we're telling you, Nadine and I are telling you, if you're listening to this, and so what I have done during those times when I finally caught it after too many years, okay, this is the day that I feel really uncomfortable in my body. This is the day that I want to tell myself that I need to lose weight. And when we know our thoughts and when we're aware of them, we can say, oh, this is what we do during this time.
Yeah.
And so we may have it, but the spin becomes back in the back of the head. And then we're not taking actions on it. We're not planning. We're not taking action. We're just allowing the thought to be there. And what I have learned, Nadine, is how do I allow myself to be uncomfortable? And how do I allow myself to be uncomfortable with what my body looks like and not do anything about it? That's a muscle. For some people, they're like, oh, I got that one down. I'm not doing anything. However, that franticness of there's something wrong, I need to do something about it. So for me during that time, I'm like, let's just not look in the mirror. Let's just go with clothes that feel comfortable. And, in a week, we're going to be wearing something cute.
Yeah, and feeling amazing. Yeah, I wonder whether that is the experience of perimenopause, is that it's actually like you don't actually look that different. Yes, there are things changing, but that it's a it's a hormonal perception and a change in the brain that might be making us experience things that seem so much worse than they possibly are to the outside eye.
Absolutely. I think that could be very, very true. And then the upset around some of the ways that we're feeling. We're tired or brain fog, which doesn't help, or whatever the symptoms are for someone,
Mm,
kind of stacks on top of it. And the one thing that we think that we can control is our weight. And it's the thing that we see. We don't see brain fog. We don't see fatigue, but we do see our bodies, and those things that are going wrong can compound. And it's like, it's all those things compounded into what we see in the mirror.
mm, yeah. So the message here really to the listeners is doesn't matter how you actually look. If you we know we have experienced and we do experience negative self-talk. Well, you're moving through it and helping people to move through it, but it happens to all of us, I think.
Yes. And I believe, Nadine, that if there was one thing that we could change that would be the biggest leverage with our body and our food, it would be how we speak to ourselves.
Mm,
Things that we say. We can't create the life that we want if we're putting ourselves down all the time. We can't create freedom with food if we are judging ourselves and telling ourselves everything that on our plate is wrong or being in fear. And we can't see, people think that they can hate themselves into loving their body. Like they think that the vibration that you bring into healing is the vibration that you are. You don't hate yourself into love. It doesn't work that way.
no.
If it worked that way, then you'd be fine. You probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Mm,
And so it is that frequency of care and love and compassion and catching, being aware of these moments that we're speaking unkind to ourselves. And then the deeper dive is, why am I speaking that way? Who is speaking that way inside of me? Because there's voices inside of our head. A lot of them we don't like and we want to shut up, but they're trying to keep us safe.
mm.
And that's important to realize, that there are voices in our head that are getting our attention, and we are to lean in and care for them, not just tell them to shut up.
Not ignore them. Yeah. Like, what's going on? It's an invitation.
An invitation.
Yeah. Let's talk about food. More food. Let's talk about more things about food. Food starts with the mother, right? Food is nourishment. Food is love.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? Like, so it's not bad to be an emotional eater. Effectively, we all are because we've all had that experience. So where does the wounding start to happen where we feel that need? Are we lacking, is it self-love, or are we lacking love externally? What do you see happening with, what did you see happening with yourself, and what do you see with your clients?
Yeah. So when someone comes to work with me, we're working with some practical things, but we're looking for the wound.
Mm,
We're looking for where this got started. And it doesn't often take too much time. So if we're in a family, and these are just different scenarios, we're in a family where we're not getting the attention, even maybe a few times we didn't get the attention that we needed or the care or the acknowledgement. Because let's face it, we're not going to. We are being brought up by other human beings that are doing their best. Some
Mm.
of them do their best, and that's part of the issue, right? But there are moments where our needs aren't fully met. And so if we start using food as that coping mechanism, then that sticks. And when I say using food, I don't just mean using food emotionally and eating more. That can also be dieting. We can use food through control of food.
Mm.
And I see in my practice a lot of people with the mother wound where they didn't get that from their mother, or their mother wasn't there emotionally, or there was neglect, or there was commenting on their bodies, making them wrong for what their bodies look like. And so food, as you said, food is nourishment. Food is grounding. Food grounds us. It is celebration. It is life. It is pleasure. It is just when it's being used to not cope with a feeling. And so the mother wound is a big part of that. The father wound as well. Right? When the masculine isn't there. And so we're often looking at what are the patterns that have happened in childhood?
Mm.
Where did this behavior kind of get stuck? And lots of times it doesn't show up until later on in life, because because the body is okay enough for that person, right? Maybe they haven't gained weight, so they're okay with the insanity in their head because diet culture says that insanity is normal.
Mm.
So it's when the insanity gets so loud, and often the body has too much weight for whatever that person thinks is too much, and now it's a problem. However, maybe it's always been a problem, because the problem isn't about the food. The problem is about getting the right nourishment. And the right nourishment is love.
Mm.
Love, love from God, love from spirit, all of those.
Yeah. Would you be open to sharing your own personal experience with how that showed up for you with the wounding or not?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gosh. I mean, just get my book there.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty much an open book with my story. Yeah. You know, it's interesting, Nadine. My mom she's she loved her body. She ate what she wanted. She's never had anything weird around her body at all. So it was kind of like the where is this coming from? And I think a lot of mine was society.
Mm.
And I was a young girl. I was a curvy little girl, as and so I got a lot of attention around my body. And there was a moment where I realized, oh, my body matters. Like, I need to control this because this is how I get attention and this is how I get love. Now, I got all the attention and all the love before. But my dad did some weird things with food, right? And my dad was a drinker and an alcoholic. So I had him there, always there, but not really, right? It was three daughters and my mom, who's very, very strong, a lot of estrogen. And my dad was just like, whoa, just kind of in the background. And I think in one way, when I look at that, there's a big piece of missing something, but not really understanding. And, I grew up with a deep connection with God. I grew up understanding that I had a source to go to with for challenges and struggles. The issue is that when I connected my body and my food to the way that I coped with life, have a feeling, eat over it, have a feeling, don't eat over it. And then the addictive, we're talking about addiction. Dieting is literally addictive. It is that addiction of control and that addiction of even the reward of giving to self, right? And then you just want more of it, and then you get attention for it. And and then you're not in the world. Like I wasn't fully in the world. I was in my own little world dealing with my body and my food. Well, that's a safe place to be, right? No one can bother me there. I can't I can't I can't fail other than what I'm used to. And I see that a lot with other people is they know the struggle of food. They know the struggle and the shame. It's familiar shame. It's familiar control. And to choose to have a different discomfort can feel too overwhelming. So that's why I stayed in it for so long. And I hung on to negative body image. I hung on to food things. It was so hard to let go. And it wasn't like I let go like this. It was, and this is important for people to realize, is the healing cycle, it's not linear, it's cyclical. It's like you open up for a little while, you feel safe, and then you close. And then you open up for a little longer. You're like, am I okay? I think this is okay. I can actually like myself today and nothing's going to happen. And then boom, right? And then we just get more, we get our nervous system to feel safer with more life. And so that is a bit of my story, a bit of the wounding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also think that there's a lot of sexual violation that a lot of women have dealt with or dealing with, and that can be put on, that shows up in food stuff, that shows up in negative body image. And that can be so challenging to deal with. There's so much shame. There's so much wrapped up in sexuality. And it doesn't even have to be, this is the thing, and this is what happened for me, is that the violation that I had as a child would be maybe considered innocent or not that big of a deal. But tell that to my 6-year-old. Tell that to my 6-year-old self. Like, it was not no big deal to her. Right. And so the years it took me to even acknowledge that that was something that needed to be healed and worked with. And then the body shame that comes up around that. There's something wrong with my body, or the miscommunication around what pleasure is and where boundaries are. And so a lot of women have the imprint of violation and figuring out how we're allowed to say yes and how we're allowed to say no. And we can do that with our food and with our bodies. And that's where restriction comes in. And it's just one big mess until we work it out with love. And I have worked, Nadine, with a lot of people who've done a lot of therapy, but they haven't done the therapy connected to the food and body.
Yeah.
So it's when you have that connection, when your body, your being connects the dots, that it says, oh, now I get it. This is connected to that. And when we heal this even a little bit more, because a lot of people are like, I've talked about it enough, I don't need to talk about it. I'm like, we don't need to go deep into it, but we need to know that there's a connection here. And the reason this is still showing up in the food, in the body image, is because it hasn't, the dots haven't been connected to release, and for the body to go, I'm safe.
Wow. It becomes so habitual for someone as well, doesn't it? Any kind of addictive behavior, like my grey area drinking.
Yeah,
It feels
like
uncomfortable to say that it was addictive as well. So that's the thing. But it was. Um, but yeah, it becomes so habitual. You don't even realize that, like you said, that there's that disconnect, because it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I realized how much stuff I had that was like, oh, that's why I've been drinking. Because, you get offered a drink as a teenager, you might have had an uncomfortable experience. Someone offers you a drink, you feel better. You don't think, more confident, not worried about what other people are going to say, and and that just happens so subtly. And I'm sure it's the same with someone who has that experience with food, is it's so subtle. And then before you know it, it's just habitual. That's just who I am. That's what I do. And that's kind of what you were saying, when it gets tied up with your identity, then that gets really difficult to let go of, because it's like,
absolute.
well, this is who I am. Who
Yes.
am I
And
without it?
who am I without it? Big questions to ask. These are really big questions to ask ourselves. And lots of times we don't want to. It's easier not to. However, it's in when the crisis happens or the
Mm,
trauma happens or the midlife,
yeah.
something hits us over the head that we say, what is going on here? How have I been living my life? And I don't want to do this anymore. And that's a beautiful moment, because what the way I see it, Nadine, is this visual of when you were sharing about you and let's say maybe not you, but someone with a drink in hand, and now they're feeling more relaxed and now they have more confidence. They're literally living in front of themselves. They're not connected to their core. They're not in their body. They're not fully aligned with their soul and their spirit. They're living in front, or maybe they're living behind, but it's not actually true. It's not truth. And it's not, and eventually it will crumble, and that doesn't always look so pretty.
No, it's like yeah, it kind of has to all come crumbling down in order to pick out the bits that you want to keep, get rid of the bits that aren't serving you, or get rid of, or what we don't really want to get rid of them necessarily, but
Let go,
let
surrender,
go, surrender, release.
release, release
Because
something
they're all
better.
part of the experience, right? And that's another thing. It's like we have to accept all parts of ourselves. That's part of the process of moving
Yeah, and
forward.
these parts of us who have chose food or negative body image or alcohol or whatever the thing, we're doing the best that it can.
Mm,
That was the best that I knew how. That's the tool that I had, and I ran with it. And it's so important when we look at our lives and we're like, wow, I wasted a lot of time doing this thing. It's the best I could do. That is what I had. And it worked until it doesn't work anymore. And actually, when it stops working, that's good news. And that's
mm.
when often we do need someone to talk to. We do need a lot of these places that we're speaking of are quite deep. And to go in them alone, it's almost impossible.
Yeah. So that's a great segue into what you do. Well, it's pretty obvious what you do, but it's a great segue into your work with clients, and also your book. Obviously, you want to reach a wider audience and help more people. Um, can you share a little bit about your work, and the book?
Yeah. So as you can tell, I work with people to find freedom with food and peace with their body. And it's not through the fixing. It is going deeper with a lot of things that we've touched on, Nadine. What is the deeper wound? What is here? How can we care for ourselves more? What is in the way? What are the foods that we need to let go of for a little bit? And how can we do that in a way that is compassionate rather than coming from force
Punishment.
and punishment? And I need to be a good girl, right? And so it's one-on-one. I have groups as well. I do some group work, which is amazing when women get to hear each other speak about this. And I do work with men. I have quite a few men in my practice right now as well. It's a common thing with women, but I think that more and more men are coming forward and feeling safe enough to say, yeah, I am dealing with this too. And I don't know who you work with in your fitness world, but I'm curious to see to what you see in that element. Um, I'll just finish this and I'd love to hear. And then I wrote my book, Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. And that was to share my story, to share what I call my story, as I said before, which is not really a unique story, but I've had so many people say, I feel like you told my story. I feel like you told my story. Thank you for telling my story. And so if you are drawn to that, you'll probably see some of you in that book.
Wow.
Yes.
What was the question you wanted to know about the gym?
Oh, in yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to poo-poo your introduction to the book and anything or change.
You're in the fitness world. If you
Mm.
see, do you work with men as well?
Yes,
And do you
mostly
see that?
women, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you see things like this show up with men? Do you feel it in, like, I mean, I can feel it.
Body image stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It shows up in a very different way though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you see it show up for a man?
Well, it's the women want to lose weight, men want to put weight on, they want to look good,
Yeah.
they want to look buff and that sort of thing. But to be honest, over the years, we have become much more focused on. My husband works in the gym as well. We've focused much more on performance.
Mm-hmm.
The body stuff and the body stuff comes, but it's certainly not the front of mind thing for most of the people that we work with.
That's fantastic,
Yeah,
Nadine.
yeah.
That's so important.
Mm. And we'll
I
have people asking if they want to lose weight, but we and they want a diet plan, and we're like, no, you just eat real food. Try not,
yes.
yeah,
You know,
like,
yeah.
and they're like,
Whole
oh,
food.
because they're so like a lot of people we've experienced in the past, not so much now. They want the they want the solution. They want someone else to tell them what to do. They want to do I'm going to give up coffee, alcohol, sugar. I'm going to exercise 2 times a week. I'm going to do it for a month. They get massive results and then they go back to doing exactly the same.
Totally.
And it's just this cycle. And so we discourage that as much as possible.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, just close your eating window. Don't wake up and eat immediately. Give it half an hour before like stop eating before it gets dark. They're the kind of things. Nothing about changing the types of food, just some behaviors and stuff. But yeah, so definitely men have stuff going on as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Um,
you're welcome.
sorry.
You're welcome here, men.
Yes. Um, so your book sounds great. How's it going so far? You've had it released for 12 months or
Almost
yeah.
a year now.
And
Yeah, it's
how's
going,
how's it going? Yeah,
yes, going great.
good,
Yeah,
good,
getting it
good.
or just finished the audiobook, so that will be out soon.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So can you give some, I mean, we're getting close to the end of our hour, so I just wonder whether we can close with some simple things that, like, we've gone kind of deep and really determined that there's a lot going on when it comes to our relationship with food or any other negative cycles. One of the tips that you might suggest in your book, actually, I've got one that I'd love to ask you about. I'm not going to give you the choice. Intuitive eating. I think that's something I'd love for you to share as we close, just as a
Yeah.
hot
Well,
tip.
you spoke a bit about that when you said that you don't give people a diet plan. you're pointing them back to themselves, right? And so intuitive eating, some people say, well, if it's intuitive, I'm just going to eat a bunch of shit. And so it's a deeper process than that. It's actually slowing down to listen, slowing down to listen. Does my body want this? Is this the right time? So I think that we can have the pizza, we can have the treats. However, what state are we in when we're eating those? Is it coming from pleasure? Is it coming from I'm so stressed out that I need to shove this in my mouth? And so there's an attunement that we have with ourselves that we can learn over time. And that happens by, the intuitive eating, it happens throughout our whole life where we actually can slow down more and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? What do I want right now? What is my body feeling? Oh, it's not feeling this, but I think it would actually, I'm not feeling it, but I think my body actually wants me to have, a, this fruit or this vegetable, or this pops into my head. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, maybe I'll check that out. And so intuitive eating is a big, big topic. And I think it takes time to attune to what that even means.
Mm.
And so the first tool that I would say around that is slowing down before you eat, slowing down, giving yourself time, and eating. Don't go too long where your blood sugar stops and then you're eating from a place of survival. We can't be attuned if we think we're just not going to eat. That doesn't help at all. So if I was a lot of people who are emotionally eating are doing it because they're actually not nourishing themselves enough with real food.
Okay.
They're gone with too long of windows,
Mm.
and then you can't access your intuition from that place. That part of the brain is not accessible at all.
Yeah. Wow, that's like another conversation. I had a whole bunch more
Yes,
questions, but
I
I'm going to
know
have
there's
to
so much
save
in
them
there.
for some other time. Thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. I think it's such important work, and yeah, I can't encourage the listeners enough to check out your TED Talk on YouTube, buy the book, and have a look at your website. And yeah,
Thank you
dial
so
it
much for
in. Thank you. It's been great.